All right, I'm Courtney Hill, and this is my email address, and we'll pop up again. If you have any questions after this presentation, feel free to contact me. I am the dual enrollment coordinator for the Manassas and Woodbridge campus. Every campus has a coordinator that works with the dual enrollment programs for that territory. Dual enrollment has been in Northern Virginia since 2005-2006, giving over 18,000 high school students college credit while they're in high school. Prior to the official dual enrollment, there were articulation agreements that existed with schools to allow college credit in high school, and it occurred in a more informal way. And it's actually very ironic because I benefited from dual enrollment when I was in college, or high school rather, and didn't really realize that I was receiving the college credit until I got to high school or college. And I participated in AFS. Any of you guys familiar with that? American Field Service, where you study abroad for a summer, and received college credit through Concordia University. So when I got to college, I had all these college credits already in my back pocket. So I ended up getting a major in Spanish because those college credits promoted me and got me through quicker. And then as a result, I was a Peace Corps volunteer, and I did many other things as a result of that high school college experience. So you really don't know what dual enrollment can do for you until after you kind of experience it and you get the college credits in your back pocket. So as you probably know, that in this day and age, post-secondary education or training is mandatory for students. It's impossible to graduate out with just a high school diploma and be able to be gainfully employed. That's just a fact. There are different types of post-secondary education. You have certificate programs, which are less than 2 years, associate's degrees, which are 2-year programs, bachelor's degree, which are 4, and DE can assist students in accomplishing all of these goals. So frequently people think of NOVA or community college, and they think of it based on kind of how I experienced it growing up. It's the place you go to if you can't get into any other place. And that is so not the case anymore. That's not true. We have students who are coming to NOVA who are 4.2 grade points average students who just can't afford to go to 4-year schools because they're so expensive. So they're putting dual enrollment together with the guaranteed admissions program, which we're going to talk to you a little bit about later, and they're continuing on to a 4-year institution after completing their first 2 years of NOVA. We also have students who do not necessarily want to go to a 4-year school. These are students that are very good with their hands, they have a skill that they want to use, and they want to go out and get a job right away. So those are our technical, career technical students. So dual enrollment can satisfy all of these end goals. It's not just for the students who are vocationally tracked. In 2011, House Bill 1184 was passed, and it basically mandated that every school district in Virginia come up with pathways for students to complete college credit while in high school. So prior, like in 2005, 2006, when dual enrollment was just beginning, we had dual enrollment, but it was more teacher-driven. We had teachers in particular schools who worked for NOVA and said, hey, I want to bring this to my high school. So it wasn't a district-wide policy or anything of that sort, but because of HB 1184, it's now mandated. School districts do not have a choice. And that's why we're seeing a burgeoning of dual enrollment offerings. So basically with dual enrollment, what we're trying to do, some school districts in Virginia, they tend to be more rural, are actually putting the entire associate's 2-year degree within the high school. So we have some students in Virginia, again in more rural areas, who are graduating out of high school with an associate's degree already completed. We are not advocating that. And the reason for that is the guaranteed admissions agreement require that the student actually graduates from NOVA in order to matriculate to that 4-year school. So what we are proposing and what we're trying to lay out in all Prince William County high schools, we're not quite there yet, but we're growing, is the general education certificate, which basically means students complete freshman year of college while they're in high school. That's 33 credit hours that they're able to complete simultaneous with completing high school. It's a tremendous deal. And this is what the general education certificate is made up of. These are the core education classes that any student attending a 4-year institution would be taking their freshman year. It is absolutely no different. So whether you went to JMU, you went to Radford, Mary Washington, every freshman is required to take the same classes. Your student would just be taking it in high school. Traditional options for college credit. Does anyone know how students ordinarily get, or some options you may be familiar with that are more common? Is that
AP.
AP and
IB.
IB, exactly. Advanced placement and the International Baccalaureate. And it's very interesting. A lot of parents don't know this, or they may know it and not know everything about it, but the college credit for those courses hinge on that culminating AP or IB examination. Every student that takes AP or IB at the end of the school year has to take an examination. So you could have a student who gets straight A's in the classes, but they may not be a good test taker. I was one of those students. Mastered the coursework, but when it came to that test, blew it. Would blow many of them. And because of that, we like to call, in the dual enrollment world, AP and IB is the college credit gamble, okay? You can take the class, do really well in it. If you do not score for AP a 4 or 5, you do not get the college credit. For IB, if you do not score a 5, 6, or 7, you do not get the college credit. Was it a waste of time? Absolutely not, because you're getting a more rigorous curriculum that's preparing you to be a better student. But if your goal is college credit, in your pocket, then you're only meeting half of what you wanted. So what is really driving AP and IB? And this is really interesting. Have you guys heard of the Challenge Index? It's put out every spring. Jay Matthews, who writes for the Washington Post, and he ranks schools throughout the country based on their Challenge Index. But what does it really assess? The Challenge Index ranks schools nationally based on how challenging they are, and it directly is tied to AP and IB. They use this indicator as a way of determining whether or not they want to send their kids to a particular school. So some families actually look at this before moving into a neighborhood. They want to make sure the school that they're sending their kids to rank high on this Challenge Index. But did you know? Formula used to count the number of students who take the AP examination. Okay? You simply sit for the test. It's not ranking them based on how they perform. So, because of that, it incentivizes school districts across the country to increase the number of students taking AP examination because their challenge ranking depends on it. And AP and IB, upon its inception, was really designed for students who are the cream of the crop students who most likely to take the class and also get that 4 or 5, meaning they're going to get the college credit. But because of the Challenge Index, over the years, AP enrollment is growing nationwide. Are kids getting that much smarter, or is there something else at play? Meaning school districts wanting kids in those classes to sit for that examination. I've heard kids tell me they sit for the examination and pretty much just fill in the bubbles in pretty shapes just to say they did it, and they're not getting that 4 or 5. Dual enrollment is a great opportunity because it's an enrichment program that allows eligible high school students the opportunity to take courses in high school and college at the same time. The NOVA college courses, in most cases, the kind of dual enrollment that I'm going to be talking about, fulfills high school graduation requirements at the same time as fulfilling college requirements towards a degree or certificate program. What are the benefits? Opportunity to take challenging courses, accelerate secondary and post-secondary education, facilitates a seamless transition from high school to college. It gives students the confidence and their abilities to meet college challenges. And even better, college credit is guaranteed with an A, B, or C grade. There is no culminating examination for dual enrollment. So if you're more of a middle-of-the-road student, as opposed to the top 5%, which AP and IB was really designed for, dual enrollment probably is the better option. Because if you take the class, get the A, B, or C, you're guaranteed that credit. And the nice thing about the credit, for parents who do not want their students to be coming from NOVA, is if your student graduates from high school and transfers to a 4-year school, all of that coursework transfers onto that transcript for that 4-year school. Okay, so if they go to JMU, all the classes they took through NOVA will go on JMU's transcript for NOVA. So essentially NOVA can disappear if you wanted to, and I know that's some goals that some parents have. So dual enrollment vocabulary, there are basically 2 different types of dual enrollment. We have concurrent dual enrollment. These are students that individually go to campus and say, I want to take a college class. And they sign up and register just like a traditional NOVA student who graduated. They handle everything independently on their own. They go to campus to take the placement tests. They register for the classes. There is a permission form that principals have to sign just to acknowledge that this student from my high school is taking a class at NOVA's campus. They may give them high school credit for that class, or the student may just be simply taking college credit. We have many students in Northern Virginia who load up on these college credits while they're in high school. They may take them in the evening, they may take them on the weekends, they may take them in the summertime. But these courses are individually driven. Okay? Again, they're earning both high school and college credit for a course, or maybe just the college credit. These courses, in most cases, are taken on campus. However, we have some students who do take them in the high school. There's a program called Nova Next Door, which high school principals are allowing their building to be used after school hours, where high school students can come and take classes, but they're taking those classes with other adults who live in the community, who don't want to do the commute to the Manassas or Woodbridge campus. So that is one way to take these classes. Another way is online through Eli. You've seen the commercials. That's Nova's Extended Learning Institute, so you're taking college classes online. So those are the 3 different ways of accomplishing these classes. And again, for high school students, there's a permission form, which is a contract that the principal signs that gives students permission to take these classes. The program that I work with, which is awesome, and you're going to find out why, is contract dual enrollment. And rather than students individually making arrangements for taking college classes, it's done for them. We work with schools directly as a group. So we find teachers and schools who have the credentials that a Nova faculty member would have on campus for transferable classes. And I'm going to explain to you the difference between transferable and CTE. That is a master's degree with 18 credit hours in the field that they're going to be teaching in. So you would have an English teacher who may have a master's degree in education with 18 credit hours in English, right? Or you may have a master's degree in English, which is going to contain those 18 credit hours in English. We also look for CTE instructors in the fields of like welding and automotive technology, HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. They have a unique combination of education, work experience, and certificates in order to teach the classes. If we identify teachers who have those credentials, they become Nova faculty members. So within their schools, when they're teaching English 12, they are wearing the hat of a high school teacher as well as the hat of a Nova instructor. So we take the syllabus of English 12 and the syllabus of English 111, 112, which is college composition, and we merge them into one. Okay? So the students take these classes in their school during the school day, and they're getting college and high school credit at the same time. It is the best deal around town. Trust me. My kids will be doing this.
Do all schools have that?
Not yet. We're going to talk about the schools who have it, and that's why it's important that you're here to learn about it, because I think parents are going to be a big motivator to make it happen in more places. And then the teachers, the high school teachers who are now Nova faculty, work with a Nova mentor in their discipline at the campus associated with their school, who oversees their curriculum, their syllabus, making sure that it's up to the standard of college level. Transferable, I mentioned there are 2 different types of DE courses when we look for credentials for teachers. The first type of classes are transferable. Now these are classes that students take that will transfer to most Virginia colleges and universities. Again, they're the same classes that a freshman and maybe sophomore will be taking at that 4-year school. So these are classes that if your student knows they will be attending a 4-year institution, they would be taking transferable classes, such as your English 111, 112, your poli-sci 211, 212. Those are the same classes that any college student will be taking. Now, not every student is designed for 4-year colleges, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. We have gone through a time when, it's always this push, you gotta go to college, you gotta go to college, you gotta go to college. You do need to do some sort of post-secondary educational training, but you know your own kids. There's some kids out there that would be bored to death in a 4-year school. A lot of kids start in a 4-year school and it's not the right fit. They end up dropping out, they assume all the student debt, they never graduate, and it just is not the best scenario. They're students who really have a great aptitude to do things with their hands. We just started a welding program at Potomac, which is phenomenal. Students are graduating out with a certificate of welding in their back pocket when they graduate from high school. That will enable them to get a job with a minimum pay rate of $20 per hour plus insurance. Some of these students want to just continue in welding, and some of these students want to use that certificate to pay for college because they know their parents can't afford it. So they have the means now to pay for their own education. These type of courses are called career and technical courses. And those credits are building towards a specific certificate program, and it's not a general education requirement. So a welding student could not take those welding credits and go to JMU. However, if they started with the welding certificate, and they maybe completed a 2-year degree in welding, and they maybe decided later to get an MBA because they want to do the business side of welding. At that point, they probably roll those welding credits into their 4-year degree. But it's very targeted and very specific to their trade. Whereas these are your general education classes. Does that make sense?
Thanks.
This is the best slide of the morning, okay? Because this is, if I haven't convinced you yet, this is going to convince you. Okay, show me the money. Contract DE, because we're working with groups of students, and because the teacher is housed in the high school, we don't pay them. They are paid through their district salary. And it's housed in the high school. There are no overhead costs for us, no facility costs for us. We are able to offer students the tuition rate of 15% of NOVA's regular tuition. 15%. So whatever the tuition is that year, and it does fluctuate from year to year, do the math. It's going to be 15% of NOVA's regular tuition. So at $24.26 per credit hour, and that is the DE tuition rate this year, taking those 33 credit hours that constitute your freshman year, you'd be paying $858 for freshman year of college. If that same student was to wait and say, I'm going to take classes as a concurrent DE student, meaning on their own where they go to campus and set it up independently, or through Nova next door and they come to the high school after hours, they would be paying the regular in-state tuition rate, which is $161.75. So those same 33 classes or hours would be charged $5,337.75. If a student did not have domicile in Virginia, because maybe they just moved here within the past year, or they do not have a legal presence, so this is, for students who don't have legal presence here, and you go to Nova, you have to pay out-of-state tuition rates. That's $359 per credit hour. The same 33 hours would be $11,847. Let's say you're going to go to GMU, which a lot of Northern Virginia students do. Their tuition this year per credit hour for in-state is $424.25. Those same 33 credit hours would be $14,000.25. The same classes. All right? I didn't even calculate for out-of-state, so if you didn't have legal presence, if you don't have domicile in Virginia, the rate for GMU is $1,240, which is 3 times $14,000. So it's a lot of money. So contract dual enrollment is really the better deal in so many ways. So which is the better deal for your money? It's kind of obvious. Okay, so these are the current Prince William County contract DE offerings. We have English 111 and 112, and when you see the T next to the course, that means transferable, so those are the classes that fulfill your general education requirements. And those classes are at Battlefield and Freedom High School. Taking both of those classes will give you 6 credit hours towards English, and that completes your freshman year English. Poli-Sci 211, 212, which is U.S. Government 1 and 2, that is at Battlefield. CST 100, 110, Communications Course, Freedom. We have a bunch of IT offerings, mostly at Battlefield and Forest Park, because those are the 2 IT specialty schools. Battlefield has more because they were piloted as the kind of the starting dual enrollment place. They wanted to make sure we had systems in place to make this an easy process for students. That was last year. Now is the coming years are the years of growth, where more high schools are eligible now, all of them, to offer these classes. So welding we have at Potomac, these are the CTE classes. Automotive maintenance and light repair at Osborne Park, that's a brand new offering this year. Childhood development at Patriot and Garfield. SDV is a student development class that every student who attends college has to take. And it basically teaches success skills for being successful in college. Study skills, time management, things of that sort. Some colleges will accept NOVA's SDV. It's a 1 credit hour class. Some want you to take their specific SDV class. But it's a great opportunity, and I think it's important for students to take it in high school because it not only lends itself to success in college, it helps them be successful in high school and learn things about the college process in advance of getting there. So just recently, we got, every high school has a guidance counselor that went through a training last summer who's now credentialed to teach SDV in the high school. So there are going to be more SDV offerings. Right now it's Potomac, Garfield, and New Directions, but we're hoping to expand it into new schools. Okay, so again, for the schools that I just listed with programs, if you look at that general education certificate that I showed you early on, we've satisfied English 111, 112 through the high school DE. communications through high school BE, the social and behavioral sciences, which is the poli-sci, and the SDB. So already we fulfilled three. You're actually getting 6 for this one, but you only have a requirement of 3. We're fulfilling 4 of the requirements for your freshman year that have already been knocked out if your students took advantage of the contract DE in these courses.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So if they do both of those English credits and they have 6, but only 3 is required?
Only 3 is required for the communications. English requires 6.
Okay, English does require 6
Yes.
for, okay.
Yes, yep, that's a requirement.
What would the motivation be for a high school to do this if the challenge index, the
That's a good. I will say that there was some hesitancy across the board with districts not wanting to roll this out full force. When it was just teacher motivated and it was in spotted places, they didn't really think it was okay. But once we approached them, there was the concern about AP. Now that it's mandated by the state, they understand and they get it, not only for Prince William County students, but it's interesting when I sit in meetings with folks and talk about this, usually the first reaction to the light bulb goes off in their head for their own students. Okay? Because administrators have students in Prince William County, so they're like, wow, I can save this much money for my own kid. Once you get into the money side of it, it's really, you can't really argue with it. But what we're able to do is cobble together AP and DE together. So one student may, let's say, fulfill the English 111 and 112 for dual enrollment. They may satisfy, let's say, the social sciences through AP. So they can do a kind of a hodgepodge hybrid, but they have to be able to pass the final examination. For students, and parents need to know that. You know your own kids. If they're not good test takers, AP may not be to their advantage.
And there's a fee for those exams.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. When my question is what else is at play? The College Board, who also generates SAT, ACT, and all of those, they're in the money-making business. And school systems pay for each examination that a student takes to the College Board.
Well, or the parents pay.
Yeah, parents pay in some places, and in some places the school districts pay. It depends on the district. But if someone's making money from AP, and it's not a problem if you have a student who's going to be successful, but if you have a student who can't pass that examination, is that success? I mean, you have to answer that, and you have to make a decision for your own kids.
So the question is, these aren't at every school, so if you want your student to get their college from here, do you have to balance the AP with?
You would go talk to the principal. All the principals have been part of meetings where we discussed this. Some are quicker to move on dual enrollment offerings. I've met with, we have other DE offerings in the hopper for next year that I'm hoping to work that will happen. So we're going to see DE growth every year. But if you're at a high school where it's not happening, what I would do if I was in your shoes is encourage your principal by talking about offering at least the English and the poli-sci. Most schools start with those 2 offerings. They'll feel it out to see how they work and if there's interest, and then they may grow into other DE offerings. Rebecca?
So how is this going at Battlefield?
It's going well. They have 2 sections for English 111 and 112 and 1 section for the political science. And I know, because we're scheduling right now testing, because there's testing involved, and I'll talk about that in subsequent slides, they've expanded the number of students who will be testing this year for next year. So obviously, it's growing.
The possibility of, let's say, if my child goes to OP, and can my child actually be transferred to Battlefield to take the courses?
They're not doing that. They could only transfer to Battlefield if they were taking the IT specialty program. They're not going to let them transfer for these, like the English 111, 112. They would have to come to OP.
And is that open online time?
Pardon?
It's not online course.
One of the things in the hopper is I met with Gina Jones, who's over the online for Prince William County, and she wants to see if we can put together some of these offerings through online and get enough students. So that may be coming around. So that would be an option for your situation. But hopefully, I'm hoping, my dream is that every high school at least will have the English 111, 112, and poli-sci in-house.
So can you list some of the schools that are in the wait right now?
Potential. Carefully I would, because I don't know what's going to happen, so I don't want you guys to like quote me on this and say, hey, that lady said. Garfield, they are looking at the English 111, 112. Woodbridge, either this year or next year for English 111, 112. We have the online offering. We have HVAC being looked upon for Freedom, Garfield, and Potomac, like a busing situation where they'll come on campus and use the HVAC lab. Those are the main ones right now.
And so in that list, there's a new high school that's breaking ground now.
Yes.
So in 2 years, has there been any discussion on which course will be there for that high school?
Not yet.
Okay.
They just got a principal in place, so kind of waiting for that to come together, and we're at a place now.
Okay.
But I imagine that's going to be part of the conversation, because everyone in administration, and it's actually Tim Healy, who's an administrator, is in the know regarding dual enrollment. Before it was kind of like a secret, you had to be very careful. I mean, I didn't even have access to talk about this to parents. So the fact that I'm here with you is a really big deal for the county. When they get dual enrollment, they see its place. It's not a replacement of AP, it's just value added for students who could most benefit from this. So I'm sure it's going to have, the new school will have some DE offerings.
One of your slides says this is for eligible students. Can you define eligible?
Yes. Yep. Again, Prince William County is fully supportive of the expansion within the county. Again, ask your high school principal about his or her plan to expand dual enrollment if it's not currently in place, or your director of guidance. It doesn't necessarily have to be the principal. The biggest challenge in rolling out new DE offerings in the high school is finding high school teachers who have the proper credentials. Most teachers get a master's degree in education, so they may have a master's in education and coursework like, you're a math teacher, coursework like teaching fundamentals in mathematics. That class would not count. Okay, when you look at a graduate transcript, it has to be a math prefix, a hardcore math-specific class. So we have some teachers who may have like 12 credit hours, 15 credit hours, and maybe short 1 or 2 classes. As they fill vacancies and they're looking for new teachers, that one of the things they're now looking for are teachers who have proper credentials when they come into the county. We're also looking at ways to create graduate cohorts, where we, through like George Mason, where we have some teachers, a whole group of teachers, maybe short 2 or 3 classes, 1, 2, to work together to get those credits satisfied through the cohort to be able to go back to the high school and teach them. So we're looking at creative ways to expand the pool of qualified teachers. NOVA has guaranteed admission agreements with over 63 colleges and universities throughout Virginia, some in DC. They've already been ironed out. And that's the reason why when I tell you these classes will transfer, they've already looked at our curriculum. They've already said what classes we will accept. So when I say it's a transferable class, based on the guaranteed admission, it is transferable. And you can go to NOVA's website, nbcc.edu, put in the search box, guaranteed admissions program, and all the agreements will pop up. You can actually read the agreement. The college president of NOVA has signed it, the college president of whatever college you're looking at has signed it, and they spell out all the specifics. So it's true, they will transfer. And I always tell parents, because some parents are hesitant, like, really, from NOVA, really? To say, one way you can further kind of be confident about it is you can call the universities and ask them, my student is interested in taking English 111, 112, will you accept it? And they will tell you yes, they will tell you, they're going to tell you yes, but if they're going to tell you no, you're going to find out in advance and you can make a decision based on that. So again, they will transfer. All colleges and universities have specific policies regarding acceptance of transfer credits. Many credits earned through dual enrollment typically will transfer. And again, contact the college and university if you're uncertain or just want 100% for sure. Who's eligible? Dual enrollment for transferable classes is open to juniors and seniors. In Prince William County, it's mostly seniors who are taking dual enrollment. It's possible, for example, English 111, 112 actually more aligns with junior year English, although right now it's put with English 12. I mean, there's been talk about moving English 111, 112 down to junior year, and allowing seniors to take a different English class, which is like comparative, like British literature, or there's other literatures, American literature, which is more in alignment with what seniors are actually doing. So if that shift takes place, that's going to open up 6 more credit hours that would satisfy one of those general education. But as of now, English 111, 112 aligns with English 12, but that could change. For the transferable classes, or the CTE classes, sophomores are also eligible because most of these programs start sophomore year. They have year 1 of welding, year 2 of welding, which is junior year, and year 3 of welding. And because of that, sophomores are eligible to take the CTE classes. You must get a satisfactory score on the college placement and readiness test. Every student that comes to NOVA has to take the VPT, which is the Virginia Placement Test, for English, and they have to take the VPT test for math. Dual enrollment students are not, if it's not a math dual enrollment class, they have to show themselves to be math ready, which is different than math placement. Math ready basically means you have baseline comprehension of mathematics. It's very easy placement or readiness domain. So NOVA's math test has 15 units of math they test you in. For math readiness, you only have to successfully pass one. It used to be we only test students who were not taking a math class in English, but the PWCS 2 years ago changed the policy where we also have to give them math placement, which actually is a good thing because it tells students where they are in math. And I've had some situations with students who are juniors and seniors who were not even taking math in high school. I don't know how that happens. And when I saw the score they got, they didn't pass any units. And I said, what math are you taking? And they said, I didn't get signed up for a math. I said, you need to go immediately to your guidance counselor and tell him or her to put you in a math class. Because if you were going to be going to NOVA and taking this as a freshman going to NOVA, you would have to take all these developmental math classes just to begin college level work. So the nice thing about taking these placement tests in high school is it lets you see where you are, the parents see where their students are, and they can get the extra enrichment they need to put themselves where they need to be once they graduate.
And can they sign up to take that class anytime?
Which class?
The test, I mean.
Yes, and the nice thing about contract dual enrollment, it all takes place in the high school. There's nothing the student needs to leave the high school for. We give them permission forms in the high school for the teacher.
Well, say, I'm probably wasting everybody else's time, but I have two that have already graduated. Well, I have one that lives in Missouri that's graduating from high school this summer, but he wants to come here and go to NOVA and take advantage of the
guaranteed admissions?
Yeah. And then I have one that's a rising junior, so that would be fine for him. But the one that is coming from Missouri, I get him for spring break. So I was just wondering if
he goes to campus. You go right to campus. You don't have to have an appointment. You go with an ID. There's placement. There's a place on NOVA's website where you can actually practice the placement tests. So if you search placement test prep, and for contract dual enrollment, we give all this information to teachers, and we always encourage students to practice. The students do really well. My experience with the English placement, they do really, really well. Math, most students do fine, but you have that small group that's not taking math for whatever reason, or they're just really horrible in math. But by and large, we have success rate when students take the placement tests. But there are also exemptions. So we use PSAT scores, SAT, ACT, and SOLs. So for the math readiness, if a student has successfully passed Algebra 1, Algebra 2, or Geometry SOL within a 2-year period, so whichever one took place within a 2-year period of starting that class, we will take documentation of that, and you do not have to take the VPT math test. Okay? If a student got a 50 on the reading and writing portion of the PSAT, which is paid for by the county, and I'm really encouraging students to take those tests serious, because I know right now the perception is they pay for it, we just sit and take it, it really doesn't mean anything, but as far as dual enrollment, it does. If you get the 50, reading and writing, you do not have to take the VPT English. We just take documentation of that. ACT, I believe, is 21 or higher in the combined reading and writing score. So there are ways of exempting out of VPT if you meet it through other testing. And then there's a permission form that the parent signs, the student signs, and the principal signs. That is the contract that says your student is taking this class for high school credit. At the same time, they're getting this class for college credit. Contract EE benefits. Classes are taught right in the high school during the school day. Students have a familiarity with the instructors. They know these instructors. It's not like a new instructor. It's a lot less intimidating than going to NOVA and taking this class with a professor you don't know. And on top of that, the instructors in the high schools are very attuned. I mean, a high school student taking a college class is going to be very different in most cases, not always. We talk to the faculty at NOVA, from a high school graduate who's taking classes. They need extra support. In most cases, this will be their very first college class. So the high school teachers know that there's a little bit more hand-holding that you must, I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a college class, but there's a little bit more support given by the high school instructors to help the students be successful. And another thing I'll say is we have opportunities for students to get out of the class if it is not working. going to college, you guys are probably familiar with drop and withdrawals. Yeah, every class you take within the semester, there's a period of time, I think it's like the first 6 weeks, you can drop the class and not be billed for it, okay? Go a little longer and realize, oh, this isn't working, or something in your life has taken place, someone got sick, I mean, we see all sorts of scenarios, you can withdraw the class. You don't have to pay for, or you pay for the class, but it goes away in your transcript. You get a W on the transcript. And we stay on top of teachers to make sure that every kid in your class has at least an A, B, or C. If we see any Fs, we see any Ds, we start talking to the teachers about talking to the students, making sure that you put a plan in place, or if they drop or withdraw the class. We do not want to sabotage college transcripts before they even leave high school. Another benefit, students are earning the high school and the college transcript simultaneously, or the credit rather, and tuition is so steeply discounted. I mean, you can't beat that. And you begin building that college transcripts. Application process. So if you're interested in this, as your student near sophomore year, if it's a CTE class they're interested in, or junior year, if it's a transferable one, they're going to talk to you all, and you're going to have a conversation with them, and their guidance counselors about wanting to take dual enrollment. They're going to apply to NOVA. You do that right online. A lot of teachers will do that as a class. They go to the computer lab, and it's a very short application, and it ends with the student getting a 7-digit ID number, which becomes their NOVA ID. And they get a NOVA email account. They get the permission form that's signed by you, the student, and the guidance, or the principal rather. They take the college placement test at the high school, which will be scheduled by us, and we'll come in, they'll know the date, or they're going to supply the documentation to say they don't need to take it because they have other scores. And they're going to register for the dual enrollment course during course selection, which is actually going on right now in the high schools. It's usually February that happens, and they're in the class. So the question, is dual enrollment right for everyone? And the question you need to be asking, are you prepared, or your student, for the increased workload of a college class? Do you have solid time management and self-advocacy skills? And have you considered all of your options in light of your future plans? Again, AP is going to be a good option for some students. Okay? You could do AP with dual enrollment. You can do straight dual enrollment. You can IB. Kind of figuring out what's the best way to cobble together your course of study based on what it is you want to do in the future. We have a dual enrollment manual that goes into extreme depth on everything I talked about. It can be found at that site. If you don't want to write it down, you can also email me and I can forward you a link to it. But that will answer any questions that I may not have answered for you. Are there any questions?
Where does the governor's school fit into all of this?
There are no DE offerings right now through the governor's school. So it would be a separate opportunity for students. But as of now, there are no dual enrollment offerings through the governor's school.
So these credits would transfer appropriately to a Virginia school, but if your student was considering someplace outside of Virginia, you would need to call them, or maybe an AP class would be better suited if they were appropriate testing.
Very good question. What I tell students who think they want to go out of state is to contact that institution and let them know what you're thinking of taking and see if it transfers. Some of these will transfer out of state, but it's not part of that guaranteed admissions. It's already been packaged and they've already scrutinized all of the offerings. So you're going to have to do that legwork on your own. And AP may be the better fit if they're not going to accept the college credit from NOVA. Good question.
My son is in the Potomac's dual enrollment with the welding program as a freshman this year. So he will need to sign up for the NOVA account pretty soon because he will start taking the other courses next year, correct?
Yes, and Mr. Bagwood will help him with that.
Okay.
Yeah, he's on top of it. Yeah. That's the nice thing about contract. It's all taken, and we help them through it. So they're not individually having to go make these arrangements on their own. So he'll walk them through that.
Okay.
Is there a way to see the syllabus of the classes, to see what it is that's covered in the classes?
Like in advance of taking the class? Sure. Sure. What high school? Yeah. We have great offerings right now too. And we have great I mean, all the dual enrollment teachers are great. Jessica Lebreski, I could send you her syllabus because I get a copy of all of her syllabi. They have to be approved every year. But if you email me and ask me for that, I can forward it to you. Or you can ask her directly. I don't know if you have a kid there already.
Yeah, but I was thinking about the English and the poli sci.
Okay. Yeah, it would be Joe Calloway, Adjustable press, you can either ask them directly for a copy of it, or you can email me and I can forward it to you. Yep, yep. cc.hill@nbcc.edu. And then another opportunity, you know, students have to take, and excuse me, I'm sitting because I have this thing, my mic, and I know we're about dragging me down. But economics and personal finance is now a required class. Are you guys familiar with that? That all Prince William County students. NOVA's been trying to figure out ways to be able to offer it for college credit in addition to the requirements for the high school. So this summer, they are offering the personal finance and econ class, and your student can come out and have it both. So if it's something, you can test it back. If you're interested in, all the contact information. It's being offered through the Manassas campus. And any extras, if you can pass it back to me. So any other questions?
And I will just, you said it's not like for a junior or senior or at some level would be.
It's going to be a college class. I would contact persons.
So it's actually 2 classes.
It's 2 classes, and they're going to be getting 6 college credits. They're getting econ, and they're both econ actually. Survey of economics and consumer finance, 3 credits each. And I'm surprised they didn't put activities for this, but I would say junior, senior. Unless you have, there's some exceptional sophomores out there though. You know your own kids. Yeah, but that would be a good way to start college credit, and it would satisfy some of those requirements in that general ed. Yep.
And I will say, they do look at a course online through Prince William County, it's $450. So, I mean, this is a little bit more expensive, but you're getting 2 college credits. So.
Yeah. That may be a good kind of way of starting it out to see.
You're saying for the summer school program?
Yeah, well, yeah, for the virtual high school, actually, they offer it during several different sessions, but it's $450 if you take it through the Prince William County Virtual High School.
Are you guys working with them at all to the virtual high school? Yes. Gina Jones, that's the online. Hopefully next year we'll have some offerings. They kind of want to see if there is interest and they're able to fill sections. And the nice thing about online is it doesn't have to be high school based. You can pull students from different places. Online doesn't work for every student, but you know your kids. Like there's some kids that fly with online, you know, self-directed. Other students need the face-to-face. But hopefully we'll be offering something online next year.
If the student takes the practice exam for NOVA online, do they see what the score is?
Yes.
And do we know if that's an acceptable score?
It will give you, just to quickly tell you, the way the English placement works is English 111, 112 is the placement that you really, really want, because that means you are college ready. I'm in high school and I see sophomores who are getting that, English 111. The next step or down would be ENF3, which means they're able to take a lot of the transferable PE classes, all but the English. Okay, English 111, you have to have English 111 placement. Then you have ENF3, which is good. ENF2 does not allow you to take any transferable classes, but it allows you to take the CTE. And then ENF1 allows you to take the CTE. And then you would get something called ABE, which is below the floor, which means you need a lot of developmental practice.
And when you finish the practice test online,
It tells you your placement.
So it's 111, 112 the highest?
111, yes. That is the placement domain you want. Because I tell students when I test them, get this now, you never have to retake this test. You go to NOVA after you graduate, that test will stay on your record and you never have to retake it. Well, thank you. I hope this was good information for you.
Thank you.
And share it, please. Let people know.